Bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Won't somebody get me off of this? Lord knows I'm weak.
And I'm all out of
National
bubblegum.
Guard, smoke from all around.
Hello. Making sure these things start. I don't know, I lost 10 minutes of video the one time I didn't check. So maybe having that screen up is what causes it to... I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about willing and willpower. Okay, and that reminds me, a little addendum here. Write down this little note here. All right. So now it seems to me a lot of you, when you think about things in general, certainly about consciousness and willing, you're always trying to explain what's behind the film strip up here. Film strip. So in your life, you're getting all these experiences, basically every little film clip. The frames are actually film clip. They're always animated. There's sound, sight, all the feelings, everything. This is your information. Given you forget a lot of it, your real information is some sort of a subset of that. But at the most, that's your information. And people are trying to explain what's behind it, what's generating the film strip, which are basically end up being, metaphysical if you try to decide them in a once and for all way. Dogmatically, like, it's got to be something like this or something like that. To me, this is the raw information. If you have an idea for something like will as an illusion, the phenomena is happening. I'll get to that in a second, but it's your interpretation that can be an illusion. Your interpretation of what you think will means, or what you think other people think it means, that might be an illusion. But up here we have, and this is where the extensional analysis, something I've been talking about 10 years, that like nobody seems to have clicked that it's a thing that I use. You've got the extension, which is the example of willing. From this set, we just take little film clips. When we were making decisions, will was involved in those. It's not the whole thing, because there's a situation that you're making a decision about, and there's knowledge, right? But we can make an extension of the phenomena of willing by just taking the frames out of this where we were making a decision, or we were trying to use will, or anything where will seems involved. Maybe every frame will is involved. It's some sort of aspect. And those are the extension of willing, but we want to clean up. We want to have the intentional definition that we could put in the dictionary. What is willing? It's when I spend energy being a fantastic ghost that runs my body, right? Oh, wait, that fantastic ghost idea, that's an illusion if that's what you think. Yeah. Well, I don't think it. What I think is we're having these experiences. Okay, so that we're having experiences that we could categorize as examples of willing, of using our will. That part isn't the illusion. Explaining what's going on, what's with that set of times, that could be an illusion. But the most important part of this set of things about willing is the making of the decision, right? Your will, well, it's hoping, the goal is to use your will so that you actually use it to help you make better decisions, right? Now, it's a particular part of the decision too, a really important part, right? Because when we're talking about using your will to make a decision a certain way, we're not talking about having the knowledge to make the right decision, right? Very willful people often, they don't seem to need the knowledge, and they just go ahead with whatever they're willing, and it's a bad decision. their will leads to a bad decision, right? So to better use your will is partly, I think, to figure out how to fit it in with your knowledge. Because the real goal here is that with the thing we're getting at with will, generally, when we're talking about will just as examples from the strip, not what it really is, spirit, or any of the metaphysical ideas someone might come up with, but just from how does will work? I want to know how it works because it's involved in my decisions and it's a crucial part of making better decisions. Is specifically the part where our knowledge, our analytic reason is come up with. It could even be our emotions that come up with it, but where we realize we've been making wrong decisions and we know there's another path and we keep taking door A and we're like, no, I know door B. I want to try door B. I know it's going to be better. And even if it's not better, we keep trying door A and it keeps going bad. So even if B is worse, I got to try B. I want to try B. Why do I never take that option when the situation, the pattern of experiences, and I see a pattern repeating and I keep making the same decision that in some sense I don't want to make. I want to make this. That's when will comes in. Will is the word we use to describe our attempts to bridge between our knowledge of what we think we want to do and actually doing it. And that makes it very important. Right? And again, behind the film strip, maybe all decisions are rigged. And none of those decisions really are made freely. Okay, well, the interpretation that these experiences were us doing something freely, that would be an illusion because we were making an assumption that there's a particular thing behind the curtain and that's not it. But I'm not doing that here. I'm saying we have these experiences of willing. What we call willing in these experiences is the part where we're trying to bridge what we think we want to do, the way we think we want to make a decision, and having it so that we actually do make that decision, right? And it's incredibly important. And you guys act like, well, if something's an illusion, it's not real, so you can ignore it. You don't have to take it into account. Why, if will is an illusion, you seem to be arguing, why find out how it works? It's just an illusion. No. If I take as a thought experiment that everything is determined like most of you guys seem to think, will is still happening. It still frames in here. Right? And there's still a gap that needs to be bridged between knowledge and the goal that knowledge is directing you to think you prefer. Now, in that case, your efforts to do anything about it would be in vain, which is why I say that view is pretty toxic, since you need to figure out how to do that. We need to figure out how to make better decisions, all of us. Me, certainly, but you and everybody. And anybody that knew how to make good decisions, well, I'll tell you what, it's not by ignoring all the details in the pattern of how willing works. Okay, so my main point is that I'm interested in what might be behind the film strip, because though it'll always be an open debate, because we know there's functionally equivalent but very different contradictory ways to explain where the images are coming from, it's also possible to eliminate some. A good theory that I believe is that there's a bunch of physical energy and material in the universe, and we're made of that stuff, and it's our interactions with it that our brain, which is also a material thing, is able to process and generate our experiences. That's what I believe, but you could have a theory that, well, it's a material universe where everything's just happening at random every moment, and there's no continuity from moment to the next. Well, that doesn't fit with the experience, because we see continuity. If you want to say that, then you have to come up with some kind of explanation of why, okay, it seems like the sun is rising, but it's not really rising, it's this other thing. You can't just say, it's an illusion, so don't think about the whole subject. because the extension is still here. When you say something's an illusion, all you're saying is the intentional, the dictionary sentence that we write to give somebody an idea of what the word is supposed to mean, what things in reality it's supposed to denote. You're saying that definition is the illusion. Because that we're having these experiences that have characteristics that allow us to categorize them, that's not change. That's not illusion. We have experiences that we can identify as making a decision. I see other people do it, and I have an example. They see me do it, and they have an example. So there's extensions in all of our experiences, and yeah, it's a universal among humans. Everybody has experiences of making decisions. And this is something we have to figure out how to do better. And people want to play some sort of game like, well, no, hey, because of Newtonian mechanics, ignore the fact that that didn't really pan out. Let's just go back and say, according to that, everything is totally predetermined. And if you think about it, that means that you can't really make a decision because whatever decision you make was predetermined by just whatever got you to that point. It wouldn't change the fact that we have to make it through these experiences of making decisions. And it wouldn't change the fact that, for some reason, in the universe, well, two things. One, in the universe, some chemical reactions have internal experiences. They have feelings. Some because I'm just a chemical reaction in my locality. Some of them, because I'm one, so there exists an X such that X is a chemical process that's having an experience. So there's that, right? That's already kind of amazing. The universe can have experiences. Little bits of it can have separate experiences from other little bits of it, right? And two, how does that work? How does it that a chemical process having a predetermined experience also has the illusion of making choices? What other physical process? Like one time when I was a kid, I was playing with gunpowder and I, lit it with the light, and there's a big chemical reaction. That reaction probably doesn't have any internal experiences. At least that's not my impression. Waterfalls are really complex. I mean, if you sit there and fantasize, you can even see it. It's kind of like, looks like a living thing. It's full of living things. You might go, oh, it's a living thing. I don't think the river probably has an internal experience. It's a chemical, physical process as well. There's something different, and these different processes that do have internal experiences, which is living systems, that they have the experiences is pretty amazing. That for some reason they have an illusion of actually having a decision process. What purpose a decision process could have in a universe that was already going inevitably to its end, I don't know. But again, this is behind the film strip. What generates it? What generates it? I'm a living creature. What I have is the film strip. It's already been generated. So as interesting as it is what generates it, fact is my primary thing I have to deal with is that it exists and I've got to deal with it, and it's my experiences. All of my experiences. My experiences of willing, my experiences of failing, of success, of pleasure, of displeasure. I'm starting from the film strip. So there's experiences in it of an apple dropping. Oh, look at a leaf falling. Let's call that gravity, the way I have so many experiences of objects in this background falling. Let's call that gravity. Why? Well, because it affects me a lot. I want to build a ladder. And also in there is acts of willing that I want to explain. Why? Because it's the most fundamental, crucial thing to life. I don't think there could be a more important philosophical question than how to use your reasoning to actually act and be an actor in your own film. Well, that'll do for now. Oh, wait, no, there's my asterisk. Saw Gary a little bit in Draft Science today, and he was saying, no, maybe it was something else. He had said at some point, referring to me about, like, I'm too much of a wimp to say there's no free will, and so I used the word willpower. Now, I use the word willpower because that's an apt term. Free will is you guys talking metaphysics behind the film strip. What's projecting the shadow on the cave? Interesting question, but prone to illusion because it's pure theory. Willpower, though, happens in the film strip. When you're trying to stay up late, getting some studying done, you're starting to feel exhausted, and it's not just that you're trying to get your second win. No, I'm going to keep going because I got to get my second win. It's a matter of how much energy. Like your will, if you're really tired because you've exercised all day and you're sick and you just feel low energy, like you don't want to get up to get the remotes by the TV, that's the same energy that you won't have to spend if you have to make a willful decision at that moment. In the film strip, the way I experience it is it uses that same energy we use for getting up. We use the same kind of energy for making a decision, right? And we know the brain actually does use a lot of energy when it's thinking. And when I go, I'm going to spend time thinking about this. I'm going to spend time thinking about why I need to keep studying. And then I spend that energy or not. Predetermined or not, it feels like the power and energy metaphor works pretty good because there's more or less energy. Sometimes it's hard to get yourself to do something you decided you wanted to do, but it only takes a little bit of energy. I just think about blah, 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 and I convince myself. Sometimes it takes a lot of energy. Oh, I had to wrestle with it and this, and then I decided I'd splash some cold water on my face, and then I thought about it some more, and boy, and I did it, and I got my second win. And the more energy you spend, well, it doesn't mean you'll succeed, but it does feel like more energy, and it succeeds more than using less energy. So willpower is very important. If the question is, how can I interact with this fucking film strip that I'm having so that it's a film I enjoy being in, if possible? How do I do that? You need to master these things. So, all right. So that's good enough. So farewell for now.
You take the good, you take the bad.